Okay, let's move on to PowerPoint Module 2. And under week 13.2 in the modules on Canvas, you will see the requirements for your PowerPoint Module 2. You'll also see the submittal and your concept review. I'm going to make a series of very short videos. Hopefully not many of them are going to be over 2 minutes. They are going to cover things that are around your PowerPoint lab and also on the concept review. There are some terms there in the concept review that some of you may not know, like how many of you know how to use the eyedropper in PowerPoint? So I'll create a video on that one. But otherwise, looking here at the lab directions, the things that you need to do in the lab for this week, on your PowerPoint for your final projects, you need to continue to enter content. You need to include images if you haven't already put pictures on it, or you can do online pictures. You need a word art, and you need a slide footer if you haven't already added that, because I know we talked about that a little bit. So let's go over here to the PowerPoint that I created the other day when we were talking. And you can do your word art from anything that is existing here. It's the same as you did on any of the other programs. Insert, word art. Say I want to change this to a red, and I'm going to have to do this. Whoop. I'm sorry. Let's go do this right. Okay. It's the same thing. If you see the screen is the same, how do I get rid of a text box here? All you do is you click on the outside border and you delete. So now my word art, I can drag it around wherever I want. I can do my shape effects, and I can do any of my soft edges like we've already done. Okay, I can do any of this stuff. It's all the same as you've already done here before. So you can do your word art, I'm sure of that. Your content, I would be adding things like here, careers I could have with a certificate, of the accounting, bookkeeping, what other I could have. I could be a cashier. I could, I haven't looked it up to see all of these that are required. Okay, what could I do with an associate's degree? What could I do with a bachelor's degree? I'm going to keep adding text here. Most of you by now probably have already added your slide footer. You see I have the slide footer here. And that's really what you need to do for this lab. The big thing that you're going to have is some of the terminology that is in the concept review. So please take a look at some of the videos that that I've created, and they might be able to help you a little bit there. Okay? Okay, let's talk about how to move the slides in order on a presentation, and also how to align text boxes, objects. So if I have a slide here, as I'm proceeding through this, I decide that I really want an introduction to the level of education on my slides. So remember, I have one here, how career certificates, one with associate's degree, one with bachelor's degree, and then I have this weird slide here about the accounting cycle. Well, that really doesn't fit in order here. I can do this one of two ways. I can click on a slide here and I can drag it around, and I can put this up here where I want it. Before what was slide 3. Or what I can do is over here in the slide sorter view, down here I can pick up the slide sorter view, and I can look at these slides here. I have the title slide, then an introduction. Now I have the levels of education. Certificate, associate's degree, bachelor's degree. Well, I don't know about you, but I think this slide needs to go to the end. So I'm going to left click on it, drag it. It's now at the end. And that's a better order for my slides. So I can see right here on these slides, on the slide sorter view, much easier way to move them around. Now let's go back over here to this slide, and I have my level of education here. I've got it on the level of education. What I really want is I want it centered, and I've pretty well drug it over there, but I want to show you something here. If I right click on this slide and I go down here to grids and guides, I can turn on a grid, or I can turn on the guides. I'm going to turn on the guides first, and I'm going to show you what that is. So the guides are the halfway point, vertically and horizontally. If I click on that, see it's set at 0 inches. If I drag this over and I keep going over, this is 2 inches to the right of center. Okay, so I'm going to drag this back. You do the same thing on this one. And I can go down here wherever I want it. Say I want it 3 inches below center. Wherever it is that you want your guides. There is another way too. If I display grids, turn off the guides, display grids, and see these are 1-inch squares. So I can figure that I want this over here. Say I want this right at the 3.5 point, 3.5 inches over. So that's all I would have to do is, and that's pretty much centered. I've got 1, 2, 3, just about 3.5 on either side. So I can move it over here however I want and adjust the location of it. You can leave these grids on. They will not show on your presentation. Or you can go back here to grids and guides and turn them off. So now I've got them off. That's one way to align text. If you want to align text another way, my first suggestion is any of these objects, remove extra space on them. So that if you want to center them, if you go to align them, you're going to have problems on each of them because they're also aligning the excess space. Okay, that's not right there. Okay, so I also have an extra line here, an extra space, making that 2 lines. So now I'm going to select all 3 of these items, and when you do, you get a new toolbar up here that is the, let me see, okay, it's the drawing toolbar. So on that drawing toolbar, I can go over here to align. I can say align to the left. See how they all moved over? Now, understand, if you want to change that alignment, you have to undo the alignment that you just set, unless you want 2 types of alignment. I can align them to the center. I can also, now that I have them aligned, I can distribute them horizontally. I can also distribute them vertically. You see how there's even space between them? And I can do other things. I can align them to the middle. Of course, you see what happens? They all align on top of each other. So that is your alignment. Once you have them aligned the way you want, I would suggest that you scoot over 1 tab here and look at this group. I can group these 3 items, and now when I go to move them around, I'm moving around 1 group. Instead of having, if I did not have them grouped, if I wanted to move them, I would have to move this one, then I would have to move this one, and they're always, I'm not getting them moved the way that I want them. So if I group them, it works very nicely. This way too, I can put a border on them. I can also go back and ungroup them if I don't want them grouped later on. So you can make changes to it, whatever you want. Okay, so there we go on moving slides and grouping.